So today I'm going to give you my top 10 gifts for gardeners. Links for everything I mentioned today will be in the description. Now, it's a very, very Eli list. There is nothing in here that's fancy. There's nothing that's a high ticket item. It's all very, very affordable stocking fillery type stuff, but I guarantee you it's the things I use every single day in my garden and greenhouse. It's the stuff that's overlooked. So here we go. So I sat and made a list, and you guys have seen me use all of these in the videos. So number one on the list then is my Hori Hori. I genuinely use this for just about everything. Now, those of you who have not heard me talk about a Hori Hori before, I can't believe there might be any of them left. It is a Japanese gardening tool. It's essentially a trowel because it's got the curved kind of blade, if you like, for digging. It's got the sharp point, so it's great for getting into the soil. It's got a knife edge on one side, very sharp, and on the other it's got a saw blade. And what that means is I use this in my beds, in my raised beds, in my pots and containers, in the greenhouse, in the garden. I use this everywhere. The saw blade edge is great for dealing with root balls and tough mass under the soil. Helps to break all of that up. The point and the blade make it excellent for digging out those pernicious weeds like dandelions with those long tap roots. Brilliant for that. And it's absolutely stunning for just planting, for digging, making holes, putting plants, bulbs, etc. in the soil. I use this constantly, which is why it's in this holster, because if I'm in the garden, I'm generally wearing it on a belt. So, Hori Hori is my number one gift for gardeners. If you've got a gardener in your life and you want to get them a wee present, trust me, they will say thank you for this. Number two is secateurs. Now, you get all different types of secateurs, and I'm going to explain why I chose the ones that I use, because I think it's a really interesting thing that will affect a lot of you guys out there. But secateurs are awesome when you're in the garden and the greenhouse for loads and loads of pruning and cutting and things. It's for all those jobs where you don't need a big set of loppers, you know, when you're not dealing with a tree. If it's in your greenhouse, it's your tomato plants, your pepper plants. Outdoors, it's the small shrubs and things that you're pruning. They're just so handy. And here's the thing, I've got some more expensive secateurs and I've got really cheap ones. And you don't need to go with the more expensive. What you do want when you're looking for secateurs is a set that can be taken apart. So you want to make sure there's a bolt on the blade, the sort of chopping end, if you like, because if you can take them apart, you can clean them and sharpen them, which means they will last forever. If you look after your tools, they will last, okay? So you don't need expensive stuff as long as you can take them apart to clean them and sharpen them. And if you've never sharpened before, I'll put a link up on the left and in the description. I did a whole video on making it really simple and easy to sharpen your garden tools, so you can also go and have a watch. But talking about the different types, I said I've got these two more expensive versions here, okay? So I'm going to drop these. These are Nowaki. Nowaki are a really, really well-known brand for gardening tools, obviously a Japanese one. And this is Geppetto. Now, both of these, I think you can get them under other brand names, but these are the companies we bought them from. Now, you'll see the big difference is, this one has this kind of rubberized grip. Now, here's the thing I was saying. Kate bought me these last Christmas. These are my posh secateurs she bought me as a present. They are gorgeous, but what I found, if I was pruning anything that had that was slightly harder, like maybe a shrub or whatever, I've got arthritis in my fingers, and I found the vibrations going through these were agony on my hands. And these are the Geppetto versions, and they've got this rubberized grip, so it just means it just creates that little bit of sort of insulation against the vibrations when I'm using them. So these are the ones I use every single day now, so that I'm not in pain. So yeah, something to think about then. Secateurs, when you choose them, make sure you can take the blades off so you can clean them and sharpen them. And if, like me, you get problems with your hands and your fingers, you might want to think about something with a softer grip. Number 3 on my list then is this guy. This is the thing I get asked about the most on this channel. He lives in the greenhouse, but he does come out into the garden too. And it's called a greenhouse tidy or a potting tray, okay? And you buy them as 2 separate parts, but it's basically somewhere that I put all the compost and I do all my potting up and things, and it just makes everything neat and tidy, gives you a wee space. The bit on the top, you can put your plant labels, your ties, all that kind of stuff in, and it is just so handy. You guys have seen this in so many videos. I've had this about 9-10 years now and it's going strong. Totally love this guy. Copper tape. Cannot tell you how amazing this stuff is. Now, copper tape is amazing for putting round pots and things and deterring slugs and snails. I've been using this for years and it's fantastic. You guys have seen it wrapped around the pots in my quad grows in the greenhouse and stuff. There is a thing though, when you're buying copper tape, you want the stuff that is very, very high percentage of copper, okay? It's the copper that's the active ingredient in this that deters slugs and snails. And the cheaper tapes with the lower levels of copper in them just don't work, okay? So the trick I found is don't buy the stuff that's advertised for gardening, which sounds counterintuitive. Buy the stuff that's advertised for electronics. I get the stuff that's used in guitar production, so that's what to look for in your copper tape. But if you know someone that's got problems with slugs and snails eating all the plants in their pots, this stuff is fantastic. Next awesome thing, especially if you're a greenhouse grower or you grow indoors, propagators. They come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. So you guys have seen this one recently. This is my favourite because, I'll put the teeny tiny one down. This one is actually changeable size-wise. So the layers come off. To make it different heights. So that you can adjust it for the size of your seedlings as they grow. How awesome is that? So the reason you would use propagators then is they create the most awesome little perfect environment for your seedlings. They keep the moisture in so you don't have to water as often. And they're like a little mini greenhouse, if you like. They keep the heat in there a little bit. I use these in the greenhouse in winter. I use them in spring. These get used so much. In fact, you've seen me using these loads at the minute. So all different types, all different sizes. These are just normal bog standards, but you've seen me with my big Vitapod one that's heated as well. So there's a whole range of these, but these guys are usually well under 30 quid. Even the big ones. Now, will you be surprised if I say buckets? Trust me, these things are just big plastic buckets. You can get them in all different colours and sizes, but they are so useful. We go around the garden with one of these at all times. So if you're deadheading, you're just picking up rubbish, you're pruning, you're raking the thatch out of the lawn, whatever you're doing, these guys are fantastic, okay? You cannot go wrong if you've got some buckets for just doing gardening work. Also, you guys have seen me, I carry stuff to go to the compost in these, all sorts. I cannot shout the praises of a good bucket enough. And you can even get colours to match your decor in the garden. This is kind of along the lines of a propagator. They're not propagators, they're just storage boxes, but I have used these as propagators in the past. Basically, these are storage boxes with lids. So handy. We use these in the greenhouse, in the shed, up the side of the greenhouse for all the compostable materials, the works. I've got these with shredded paper in them, with bark in them, so that everything I need for composting is just to hand. I've got them in the greenhouse with soil in there, so it's nice, it's got a lid on it, which means my compost is nice and safe from fungus gnats, keeps it dry, all that kind of stuff. These guys are just so useful, little storage things. I've got a couple in the greenhouse that are full of just junk that I've nowhere else to put it, that you guys don't get to see the junky bit, so that you think I'm neat and tidy. But yeah, storage boxes. I think they're designed for in the house, but they're just fab. So I've talked about the Hori Hori, but you guys will see there's another knife that is always with me. This is my Swiss Army knife. It is in my pocket constantly, no matter where I am. It's handy for cutting string, tape, copper tape, all that kind of stuff when I'm in the garden. But also, depending on what one you get, Mine's has got these little scissors on it. Amazing for trimming herbs and all that kind of stuff. And I use this if I'm getting herbs from the greenhouse rather than go and get secateurs, because it's just so perfect. Honestly, you'll find so many uses for this guy. Just have it in your pocket as you go. Also, the other thing, tweezers. Can't tell you how many times I've used these tweezers to pull splinters and things from my fingers. Because if you use perlite, you guys know what I mean about all those little slivers. I get asked about these lights all the time. They're actually amazing. These guys are actually enough to light my greenhouse so I can work in here. Now, they're just really cheap little lights that we got for putting inside a gazebo when we got married. They're battery powered, so I use rechargeable batteries on them, but you simply tie them somewhere and you pull to switch it on, pull to switch it off. I get asked about them so much. And if none of that takes your fancy, there's always some awesome Kitchen Garden with Eli and Kate merch. Comfy, cosy hoodie for being in the garden in winter. A hat for those bad hair days. Or what about even a mug for that wee cup of tea when you're in the garden? I said tea! Really? So I hope that was helpful, guys, giving you some wee hints and tips for a wee gift for the gardener in your life. Stay safe and I will see you all soon. See you guys!